I have a question, and I know that you will have the answer.
Are you sure? Okay.
My question is on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, wherein Bhagavan says to Arjun that there was no time in the past, no time in the past where me, you, and all these kings of both the armies were not present. And there will be no time in the future, we will cease to exist. So if that's the case, if Bhagavan is saying that we are not going anywhere, then what is the point of evolution and mukti?
So, what is the aim of the Bhagavad Gita? Mukti.
Yes.
So if Bhagavan is saying if he is saying the same thing in the Gita, whose aim is mukti, so there must be some reason, right?
Yes.
Right? It can't be, it's not contradicting each other. Because the aim of the Gita is to take Arjuna towards mukti, finally. In the same text, he says that this is happening, but he doesn't say that, so what is the point of moksha? He doesn't say. That's ours.
That was my question.
Your question. So that means there must be some reason. What he is trying to say is that life, evolution, the whole thing has been happening over and over again. There are many cycles, many manvantaras, many yugas going on all the time. When he says the Kurukshetra war has not happened for the first time, it doesn't mean the same war has happened with the same people. It means such battles have happened before. So in the course of the movement of life, all this is repeated in cycles. And what is mukti? Those who wish to come out of that cycle and be free of it, this is moksha. This is what he's trying to say is, don't think that this is the first time this is happening and be totally enamored of life. This has been going on, but there is a rare person who wants to quit and who gets out of this cycle and goes away. This is the reason why it is mentioned. One. Second is, the same Gita, Krishna mentions to Arjuna that among the millions of people there are, only one person among the millions even thinks about moksha. And among millions of such, or thousands, let us say, thousands of such people who wish for moksha, only one finds the path. And among thousands who find the path, only one walks to completion. So it's not a common thing. I have something to say here. I think Krishna, Bhagavan was speaking from that time scale where he was at that point, before the beginning of Kali Yuga. I think now, instead of one, we could say many more people will reach there if they put their attention on, which is a great hope.
Pranam Gurudev. My question is, what is the difference between the process of understanding Brahman and realizing the Brahman?
Okay. You can take off the mic, otherwise another question. Yeah. And so I kind of got what you're trying to say. What is the difference between understanding the concept of Brahman and realizing the Brahman? Means actually sakshatkar of Brahman. Now it is obvious. The understanding is basically a theoretical understanding of what it is, what it could be, which means it is absolute, it cannot be relative, it cannot be any of the things that we know of, because the main path of inquiry in Vedanta is neti, not this, not this, not this. Ultimately, when you come to a place where there is no more negation, something cannot be negated, is the only reality that is realization of it. So, theoretically I can say I am the Brahman and so on. It means nothing. If I actually know it, then I find that I am not confined only to this body, but I am all pervading. So this is my realization, and the other, where I start with, is my understanding. But if the concept is properly understood, it may take some time. If it is properly understood, that understanding becomes the realization. It's not as if there are two opposing factors here. It's fully understood, everything which is not the Brahman, you use the word Brahman, so I'm saying, fizzles off, and there is only the Brahman.
Namaskar, sir. I've heard that during Kundalini awakening, some people might have a mental breakdown. Is it true?
Very true.
Why does it happen, and if it happens, how to deal with it?
Don't do it. I'm not joking. Seriously, in the Ganeshwari, in the parts dealing with the practice of Kundalini Yoga, Ganeshwar very clearly points out that there are other better methods and easier methods without danger, which you can practice, and of that the least dangerous is bhakti. Even though belonging to the Nath Panth, he definitely knows what Kundalini Yoga is all about. The problem is that people jump into the practice before understanding why we are doing it and for what purpose we are going, and that they don't know how to handle it. Preparation is essential, but everybody wants a shortcut. So I think for $1,000 you can raise your Kundalini in the West. What kind of Kundalini is that? I don't know. All of the people who worked very hard for it for years are all fools. Internet mein Kundalini is gone up, so it may not be Kundalini. Okay. Now, there are certain preparations essential before you start. If you don't practice also, it is all right. Yesterday we were discussing, right? So many people have touched the Supreme without practicing specifically Kundalini Yoga. Let it happen as it happens naturally. This is a better approach to take. I would suggest don't jump. This is why in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which are considered to be the standard text on the practice of yoga, the first chapter is not practice. The first chapter is Samadhipada. That means the chapter on Samadhi, which means where are you going? What are you looking for? Where are you moving? What are the conditions required? If all these are in place and you don't suffer from OCD, if somebody has OCD, don't practice all this yoga business. Enjoy yourself. Maybe next life it will come. Or do japa, or sing songs, or do bhajans. So, when you do that, then there are precautions taken and therefore it will happen in its own way. Plus, you should have the guidance of a teacher who is teaching you, not simply by reading books. This is also important. So that when something happens, you can say, please, this is what is happening. I'm telling you, regular basis, many emails almost every day, saying we did this kriya, we did that kriya, we did practice this. I asked them, did I give you? No. We did this, we did that. Then now something is happening to us, we don't know what to do. I said, go and ask the guy who gave you this. No, he is not reachable. That means when he is not reachable, I am available, free. And I don't know what they have taught them. So how do I know exactly how? Or I must go to that person and say, hey, what did you teach this person? So your question is very relevant. My suggestion is, if there is such fear, don't even do it. There are other ways of doing it. Why people do it? Because they think it's a very easy and shortcut to go up. No, because not you. Because nowadays everybody wants shortcuts. concessions, and so on. But it's a sacred thing and it is not such an easy thing. So keep that in mind. And don't overdo anything. Moderation is essential. Definitely not by reading books.
I have been practicing meditation for last 2 years, Aana, pana sadhana. But last few months I experienced that, and I was getting very good results at subtle level. But suddenly my mind started working as a rebel, and I
Rebel?
I got distracted. I could not sit for longer time, and now the harder I try to get back to my practice, it resists. So I don't know how to get back to it. I'm sure many sadhaks would face it, and even
No, many face it.
yeah.
They may not say it.
Yeah. Even here afterwards, if it happens in future, what should I do to bring myself back?
Shall I say something? For a while, lay off.
Okay.
Lay off. Don't try. For a while, just lay off. And then your mind, after some time, will say, I can't do without it. Then get back. Because once you have little bit tasted it, so lay off for a while. Say, no, I'm not going to do anything now. What will I go for a walk? I'll listen to bhajans. I'll do this. I'll do some good works, but I'm not going to practice. It will come. You'll be pressed to practice. When there will be an compulsion to practice, then you sit down. It will be okay. And Vipassana is a wonderful practice. There's nothing wrong with Vipassana. Please do it, and it's not so dangerous. It's so simple. In fact, the only practical technique which the great Gautama Buddha taught was Vipassana, nothing else he taught. None of the practices which are today in the Tibetan Buddhism, Buddha didn't teach, it came later. So, not that they are good or bad, I'm just saying. The original teaching is Aana, pana, which means just watching the breath and observation of the breath coming, which is somewhat also part of Kriya. I'm not saying because of that, but yes. So let's see, you give up, don't. I'm not going to practice. For 3-4 days, I'm not. Then see what happens.
Pranam Guruji. From what I have understood, spiritual growth is not about gaining anything. Spiritual growth is not about gaining anything, but rather about losing our conditionings and becoming pure consciousness, like a salt doll merging into the sea. If this is the case, then self-realization seems to be the logical destination and the end point of.
How long is your question, sir?
Just one.
Okay.
Spiritual self-realization seems to be the logical destination and the end point of spiritual growth. However, I have also heard you speak that there is no limit to spiritual growth. Can you please help understand this?
Can you read that question again, the first sentence?
From what I understand, spiritual growth is not about gaining anything, but rather about losing our conditioning.
Yes.
And merging with absolute consciousness like a salt doll.
Stop. You cannot merge with absolute consciousness. Where you are, there is no absolute consciousness. The question of merging does not arise. I want to merge in Supreme Consciousness. I am there, and there is, in Supreme Consciousness there is no you. There is only the Supreme Consciousness. So the word merge is not the right word. Okay? The word merge is not the right word. And the second part of your question, say that again.
So if this is the case, then self-realization seems to be the end point of spiritual growth or this journey.
Okay.
But I also have heard
Yes,
you speak
yes.
in.
Got it. What I mean is, when you realize the self, meaning when you realize that something specific and special and separate called the self does not exist, and there is only the Supreme Consciousness. If this understanding happens, then don't think that it is like a worldly thing which you fulfill and it is over and done with. That's what I mean. It is a flow, it goes on forever. It's not as if one day you have this and then you have that experience and then you store it in your brain and you go back to it and look at, no. Then if this really has happened, then there is only the ocean, there is no salt doll there. And the ocean is not something that happens in a small way once. The waves are there forever. So in fact, the word Brahman comes from the Sanskrit word bruh, which means ever expanding. Which means you cannot define it with the kind of goals you have in life. I have attained, that's what I meant. I have attained it, therefore you cannot define it that way. What happens? If at all one that has happened, then in every point in life as you move along, it is there. It's not as if it has happened once and finished. This is what I meant. Not that continuous in the sense that again there is more to it. No, that's not what I meant. What I meant was it is not an experience which can be put in a cubicle. It's something that keeps happening all the time. You meet somebody, you see that, you don't see that person, instead you see only that. You meet somebody else, you see only that. You go to Kashi, you see only that. In Madanapalli also you see only that. So it's not as if it is confined to any structure, that's what I meant. Don't misunderstand, okay? A good question, but serious.
Pranam Guruji. My question is, many people here, and I am definitely one of them, in spite of practicing daily meditations and even Kriya, we don't have the privilege of being in close contact with a living Guru. Is it possible, Guruji, for us to realize God in this lifetime?
Now this is very dangerous to be with a living Guru. It's a terrible sting, because you will go crazy. That's one thing. If you ask me the question, will it be possible for us to understand the ultimate, to go, I would say yes. If it is not a yes, I am wasting my time. Babaji has given me some work to do. When you say living close, it doesn't mean that you should be always with me. That all doesn't work now. In this era, this doesn't work. So how will you be with me? Whenever possible, be with me like this. That doesn't mean I should come and sit there or you should. It's more to do with the mind. Okay? And it's not possible to be with everyone physically all the time. This is not possible. You know that. Not practical. So what is the meaning of being close? When you say being close, meaning to understand the thought processes of the person who is talking. To go as close as possible to the thought process of the person who is speaking. And most of all, to keep constantly reminding yourself of what is being said so that it becomes part of your life. I am working with this notion that one day all of you will get something. This is, otherwise why would why am I wandering? I am 73 years old. Believe me. What advantage do I get wandering around? Why don't I sit in some kutir quietly, keep quiet and say, Konja neram summa irukka mudiyuma? I can't. Shut up. Why am I doing this? Because I feel that I need to make people understand, and so therefore with that good intention, since I am doing this, I think somebody or the other will benefit by it. Having said that, spiritual illumination is not a mass affair. Each individual may progress at their own speed, at their own pace, in their own understanding. You can't put everything together. And there are some people who are very devotional minded. I don't want them to convert into Hatha yogis. There are some people who are yogic type of persons. I don't want to convert them to the other. There are some who are Vedantic in their thoughts. I don't want to make them become something else. That's all fine. My attempt is, in whichever path they are moving, to provide them some guidance and push maybe at times when required. I was about to say kick, but no. And let them move forward. I mean, this is my aim in life. This is why I'm doing this. So I have hope. If I don't have hope, then I wouldn't be here. So please don't worry about that. Just put your attention on whatever you can. Try to do your best. And perhaps at some point, and in fact, the joy for me would be that you would get up now and say, I've got it, and walk out and never come back. I'm happy. Seriously. I want that to happen, but it's not happening. Maybe in some cases it happens. I don't know. So, to your question, this is food for thought, what I just said. Think about it. Huh?
Sir, my question is about this entire human body, mind, and soul linkage. Like it has been said that our inner self is basically, in essence, the Supreme Brahman, which is formless, sizeless, and beyond our sense of physical perceptions. But the logical mind
It has been said.
It has been said. But the logical mind thinks that if something is to reside in the physical body, it is something which can be identified in terms of size and shape.
Right.
So how does this entire linkage work? Yeah. And since our basic essence is the Supreme Brahman, so why is it dependent on the functioning of the body? Like when we are awake, we are aware of the witness. But when we are asleep, we seem to forget about the witness. So why is it so?
That is a long-winded question. I'll try to pick up one thread and try to get into it. First of all, you are right. It has been said that there is only the Supreme Brahman. We don't know at the moment. Let's start there. If the body has to exist, think, see, observe, we need the mind, right? You may call it the brain if you like at the moment. You need the mind. Now the mind is, or brain if you want to interchange the words, is a very complex and excellent computer, laptop if you want to call it. But a laptop operates only when there is a witness doing something out there. That witness is the Atman, the self. It may not have a shape like your body because it is an immaterial object. So it doesn't have it. I'm going one by one from your question. However, in the physical body, there are different subtle levels of vehicles or bodies, which are called the Shushva Sharira. The subtle bodies, they all have the shape of the physical body also. Separate all that, when all that is over, the core is the Atman, which is consciousness. Right. Now, that consciousness, when it understands through different means, through sadhana, through experience, through maybe sitting with somebody who has understood it, various ways are possible, then when the Jeevatma understands that even the idea of this Jeevatman is only in part of my thought, when that is gone, there is only the Paramatman or the Supreme Brahman. This is what is happening. This is the step-by-step route to this, what you talked about. Now, while everybody admits that the Supreme Brahman and the Jiva are the same, or that the Jiva has the same substance as the Supreme Brahman. However, qualitatively it may be the same, but quantitatively it may not be the same, which is the difference between Ishvara and Jiva. Okay. there is water in the, it is not my argument, it is the discussion of Ramanujacharya, who was the founder of Vishishta Advaita. Shankara is Advaitin, Ramanuja is the Vishishta who came after him. He said it is true that all is water. Ocean is water, river is water, pond is water, everything is water. But the ocean and the sea, a ship can run. In this little bowl which you have on the table, a ship cannot run. But it is also water. So, that bowl you have on the table is your jiva. And that ocean on which the ship runs is the Supreme Brahman. Only thing is, he changed the name of Brahman to Sriman Narayana. So this is how you should look at it. I look at it that way. It's also a good thing to trim your ego a bit. Not you. I am this. You cannot run the ship on it. Perhaps when all differentiation completely cease, then you see you're the same essence. Till then, there is still a small conditioning. And the self or consciousness needs a vehicle. It doesn't need a vehicle, it works through a vehicle. And that vehicle is the subtle body and then the physical body. So your attempt to trace the essence goes from outside to inside, from the physical body to the mind, from the mind to the Atman, from the Atman to the Paramatman. When you reach there, all these things are not there, only that is there. Till the journey is continuing, there are the differentiations. Because there is still two. One is here and one is approaching something. Food for thought. Think about what it is.
Pranam Guruji. I listened to one of your satsangs, previous satsangs, where you have mentioned that we have free will in our life and there is nothing predestined as such. So I wanted to know if it is true even in case of bigger matters in life, like the person
in case of?
Bigger matters like the person we are going to end up with in this lifetime.
Are you worried?
Because in modern spirituality nowadays, the soulmates and twin souls, all these concepts are really picking up. The soulmates, twin flames, these kind of concepts are really famous. So is it true? And if we are supposed to end up with that one person?
Wait, let me From the ancient tradition, there has been no mention of twin souls or soulmates. This is these new age terms which have come up. I don't know where they came up from. It's simply that two people like each other, they think they are twin souls. There are no twin souls, right? So, if somebody is trying to convince you, I must definitely marry you because I have a twin soul, tell him to shut up. There's nothing like that. In the matter of getting together in a marriage bond, tread carefully. It is very, once you do it, it is difficult to come out of it. So think carefully, don't get caught away, fooled by all this, I am your twin mate, soul mate and all these things, okay? It's a nice sweet way of saying it. Now, therefore, think carefully before you get into this. Somebody is going, I hope it's not the twin mate. So forget about all these concepts. Well, if you are sympathetic with somebody, you might say as an expression, oh, it seems like, that's all. There is no serious reality about it, okay? Now, in no tradition has it been mentioned. It's a newfangled idea, so forget it. Okay. Now, my idea, okay, my understanding. Now you said about destiny and all that. You look carefully at wherever you heard this, okay? See exactly what I have said. What I said was, I am still saying it, is that there is a blueprint. We are a result of 1,000,000 years of genetic evolution. Forget the soul. Even if you forget the soul, we are the result of 1,000,000 years of genetic evolution. Right. So how many million characteristics are there in us? There. Now therefore, we will think in different ways than others. So, and therefore we will have different plans set up in our brains for our lives. So there is a difference. I am not saying there is no difference. However, if one gets into this totally fatalistic idea that everything is predestined, life comes to a blinding halt. Suppose I thought when I was young that I don't want to do any meditation, I don't want to... Why? Because it will all happen, it is destiny. Would I be understanding anything? I ran away. So people are there, oh, that is also destiny, you ran away. No, I say no. I did really run away. Nobody could have stopped me. Now, I suggest also that you read this wonderful text called the Yoga Vasishta. In Yoga Vasishta, the great Rishi Vasishta says something which I don't dare to say. He says, those who believe in destiny and all the time run to astrologers are donkeys. I'm not saying. Read the Yoga Vasishta. Because then what happens? You become so dependent. If you have loose motion, oh, in which house is that moon standing? This is not the way to live. Be robust. If you have a problem, try to face it squarely and then decide. If after continuous trials you are not succeeding, then you can say this is by destiny. How can you say that before trying? And this especially I am saying to the young. They shouldn't listen to all this nonsense and say, what happens is that they usually end up smoking ganja and sleeping. Why? Because it is destined. I don't have to do anything. That's not true. So don't take that destined to such levels. That's all I was trying to say. Self-effort is definitely required. Now, if a person has one arm by birth, destiny, he cannot, that with one hand, attempt to write. So he can say, I cannot write, so I am not going to write. I am going to speak. Not give up by saying, I cannot write, so life is finished. Try to explore the other side. Otherwise, it's such a fact, especially young people should not. And please don't fall into this twin soul, twin business. Be robust, get out of that and move forward. It's very easy to fool people by saying this, I am your twin soul, you know, Do you think I am your twin? No.
Pranam Guruji. You just mentioned some time back that we are an outcome of millions of years of evolution. This obviously applies to the soul primarily.
No, to the body.
Okay.
And this body is a result of millions of years of genetic evolution. No question about that, biologically. And therefore many of the characteristics of these millions of beings whose cells we were once upon a time, genetically, have all contributed to this body. Now, the most subtle part of our body is the brain. Now, therefore, the brain is also a result of this genetic evolution. So, our thought processes, because we are Homo sapiens, by and large are same, they can also be different. It is nothing to do with the soul. That's not what I was saying. You started on that, that's why.
Okay. This is primarily to do with reincarnation.
Right.
So my question is, because I've watched one of your earlier discourses where you remember a past life of yours when you interact.
This is the problem. You all see YouTube. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Where you had mentioned your one of your lives when you had interacted with Lord Buddha. Could you tell me what is the first life that you can remember? And when was it in terms of Earth time? If you could give us an estimate time frame. since we are dealing with evolution of human consciousness?
It is very difficult to give you an exact time frame, but I have written a book also on that, not only YouTube, but I have started only from the life which I think I remember. Beyond that, I cannot remember, which doesn't mean that it did not exist before that. Perhaps at some time, maybe when things are clear, I might write another crazy book about that. But at the moment, I know for a fact myself, I cannot convince anybody. I cannot find proof for that. So I generally don't. But I wrote that book that people should know that I have been through this state, and therefore I have had memories of, only where the memories are somewhat concrete, I have put it down in written form. There are many such things in my mind. Maybe she is my twin soul, I don't remember now. When I remember, when I remember, then I will put it down. You know what I mean? I want to be absolutely sure before doing this. Yes.
But could that, the life that you remember, could you just...
Read that.
Which book is this?
What's that? Journey continues.
Okay.
The journey continues, because we'll waste time.
Okay.
Please read The Journey Continues. In clear terms, I have written the first, what I can remember.
Right.
My first meeting with Maheshwarnath Babaji, that I can remember. And a small hint of Sri Guru Babaji in some life, which I can't fully grasp.
Okay.
Huh.
Thank you.
Guruji, I've asked this question earlier. Apologies for repeating it again. How does one realize one's ishta mantra if you're into Japa? If Japa is a path that you take?
Right. If you love to do Japa, you take to the path of Japa Yoga, then there are two ways you can do it. One is the deity about whom the mantra is should be a deity that you love. Should be a deity that you really like. One. Second, interact with a person who is good at these matters so that he will help you to not me, he'll help you to choose your mantra. Now, the thing is, if you want me to do that, you will have to open up a bit. You can't keep it to yourself and then expect me to give you the right mantra, ishta mantra for you. You have to open up and say about which is your ishta, what you do, which deity do you like, is it abstract or is it concrete? All these things you have to look into. So if you want to have a discussion, I am ready for it.
I will take permission.
Huh?
I will take permission and then...
Not now. More people might benefit. Huh?
Sir, I like Shivji. But the last time when I had mentioned Krishna, I tried Krishna but I can't resonate with Shiva. It's the Rudra mantra that I just go.
Then you should stick to that. Krishna, you cannot easily get, he's a rascal man. But once he catches you, he won't let go of you. So, okay, you stay with Krishna. I'm sorry. With Shiva, sorry. That's fine. So, if you enjoy it, then that mantra is yours. Stay with it. It could be a simple Shiva mantra, or it could be slightly more complicated. Om Namah Shivaya, it's a beautiful Shiva mantra. Or the Mahamrityunjaya is a beautiful Shiva mantra. Or if you have a Rudra mantra, Sri Rudram complete. That is not an ishta mantra, however. Well, what I suggest is you do the Rudram regularly, but use Om Namah Shivaya as your ishta mantra.
Jeevatma and Shivatma. From Shivatma we have come to Jeevatma. And we have to go back to Shivatma or ultimate Brahman. So what is the guarantee? I am always get confused. Once we reach that state, may not we come back again?
Nobody who has reached that has come back. The Gita itself is beautifully expressed. Yad gatva nanivartante tadhama paramam mama. That abode of mind, when you reach, nobody comes back again. It's also the experience of people who have touched it. There is no desire to come back. Unless there is some little things unfulfilled. But then once you are caught there, you will not then stay. You will fulfill that and quickly take the first flight back. Don't worry about that.
I had a question about
Soulmate.
Women yogis, female yogis. So you don't speak about you've mentioned Navnaths, there is a lady, if you can speak more about women, because we keep hearing about all the men yogis. This question is not with an intention of some feminist agenda. I mean, I don't relate to myself as a woman or a man, I'm a human. But I mean, practically speaking, I have a woman's body, so some of our, I don't know, the brain also functions functions differently for men and women. So from that perspective,
does it really function different? Anyway,
some aspects. I mean, that's what you get to hear from scientists. So on our path, it'll be nice to have some women yogis to look up to. So if you can share something.
Yeah, unfortunately, what has happened is most of the women yogis who were definitely there at one time, they were not the modern women yogis who would like to be known. So many of them have kept themselves unknown and quiet and done their job. That's one reason why we don't hear much. However, it's not that we don't hear. There have been great yoginis like Gargi. The great Rishi Gargi, in the Upanishads, challenges Yajnavalkya and says, answer this question or else your head will fall off. There have been such yogis. Please remember that it was a deliberate attempt by women of those days not to be outside and present themselves, but work on. For instance, many of the great rishis, their mothers were such advanced beings that they became advanced beings. They're unknown, they're not. That society was different, where the women did not flaunt their capabilities. Now it has changed. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it has changed. And if you go to Kashmir Shaivism, you will find a great woman yogi who used to wander around without clothes. She was, some people call her a Sufi, some people call her a grey. Now anybody here? Lal Deng? Yes, see. So, it's not that and they were great and nobody could challenge them then. Among the Lingayats, there is this great person called Akka Mahadevi. It so happens that the males are so, prejudiced that they always present only the male ones. There have been great yogis. Akka Mahadevi was such a great yogini that she used to have discussions with Allama Prabhu, one of the great Nath teachers belonging to the Lingayat Sampradaya. So it's not as if there aren't, there were. Plus the fact that you must remember that in this country, in our tradition, the ultimate supreme energy itself is a feminine gender. Shakti, Parashakti itself is a feminine gender. So when here men say that we are superior to women, I feel a little shocked because you can't say that. Okay. Now let me tell you a story about a great yogini who is not understood, who is not recognized much. Some people worship her, but not. I'll tell you a story. Real story. In the Ramakrishna mission, if you go to their temples, you will see photographs of the 12 apostles, the 12 direct disciples of Ramakrishna, plus some of the then presidents of the Ramakrishna order. You will find one picture, all of them are clean shaved. One picture of one president who has a big beard. That was Virajananda. I am saying this only for you to identify. Virajananda. Swami Virajananda was a direct disciple of Swami Vivekananda. So when all the direct disciples passed away, he became the head, because he was Swamiji's disciple. And he was there for quite some time. So therefore he was initiated by Swami Vivekananda. After some years, he felt like Vyasa felt after writing the Brahma Sutras. He felt a little bit dry and emotionless, and something was happening which he didn't like. It was becoming more intellectual. And so what to do? He can't go to anybody. All the direct disciples have passed away. He is the senior most and he is a disciple of Swami Vivekananda. What did he do? So he thought about it. He remembered Sharada Devi was still alive. She lived for a long time, very long time. So she was living in Entali in the Advaita Ashrama. So he went to see her and he said, maybe she will answer my question. He was a sannyasin, right? He was wearing the robe. So he went there and tried to do pranams, and she said, no, I am a householder. You cannot do pranams. Okay, sat down. Then he said, so what is a child? Why have you come? We had a child. And he said, you know, Mother, I have this problem. She never taught anybody, mind you. She never preached, she never taught, she never wrote books. I am meditating, but my mind has become kind of dry. There is no feeling, like a dead. She started the conversation by saying, look, I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about this. But I have lived with Thakur for many years. So therefore, I feel, I'll ask you a question. I said, okay. So Naren initiated you, Swami Vivekananda initiated you. Yes. What center did he give you for meditation? He said, here and here, Sahasrara. She said, yeah, okay. So can you try to shift your center for a short while till everything normalizes to the heart center? Can you do that? Look, here is a lady, illiterate, couldn't sign his name, did nothing, no sadhana. She lived with Thakur for so many years and unknown. That's what when you say we don't know much, there are many unknown such souls, we don't know, and they don't advertise. So he said, all right, I will try that. He took her blessings and went. Mayavati in the Himalayas, there is a beautiful center. Even today. He went to Mayavati and said, I don't give up my duties in the headquarters for a while, put somebody in charge, doing nothing. He went and stayed there, fixed his attention in the heart center. After a month, it all came back. We went back to Calcutta before taking charge again. Met the Holy Mother, Sharada Devi, and said, thank you very much, now I got it solved. She said, I didn't do anything. Yeah, I didn't do anything. It's all Thakur's doing. So there have been such people, not so much known due to various reasons. Like I said, olden days, they silently worked without being known. There were other teachers who would go out and teach. But there have been teachers. It's not that there haven't been. Now here is a solution. Why don't we have more women teachers now? Let's undo this. Why not? Please, men don't get upset. In fact, I think there was one disciple of Shirdi Sai Baba, Upasini Maharaj. Upasini Maharaj was instructed by Shirdi Sai Baba to go and establish an ashram for women somewhere close by. So he went away from Shirdi and established an ashram there. I don't know the name of the place. Sakori. There the women were taught how to chant the Vedas. They did all the homas and the people were very upset. The men said, how is this possible? You're not even supposed to chant the Gayatri. How is that? But he persisted. He did. And even today if you go there, they don't allow men to stay there for the night. Except in rare instances. They asked me to stay for the night. I said, no, I'm going. But when they perform the homa, it's very interesting. They only do it. There is no man there. Why I'm saying this? That Shirdi Sai Baba realized that times are changing and a change has to be brought about. And therefore he entrusted him to start this. So I'm saying, why don't you do that? Not start an ashram. I'm fed up of ashram. I said, but you will try to develop so that tomorrow nobody will ask, how come there was Julie here? I'm sorry. And still you didn't recognize her. So, sorry, I'm joking. So, something like that.
Guruji Pranam. Sir, as Bhagavan Ramakrishna Dev has told that before making your Guru, choose the right Guru in your life.
Very difficult.
So that he can guide you to the right path. So nowadays, as you told, with $1,000 one can attend the Kundalini. So nowadays, how can one choose the right Guru who can take him or her to the right path or the ultimate goal? Thank you.
It's a very true question and very serious question. Unfortunately, it's very difficult for a human being to find out who is a good guru, it's difficult. But I know this for sure because it has happened to me. That if you truly are on the spiritual path, you seriously want to reach there. You don't want any other nonsense or fancy trimmings. If you don't want, you want to go. If you're serious and if your heart is aching for that, really paining for that, then you will get the right guru from somewhere. Now, sometimes the person who comes to you to guide you may not fit into any of the categories that you have imagined a guru to be. He could be your driver. Who was Arjuna's driver in the battle? Who is Partha Sarathi? I'm not saying the same, but what I mean to say is that if you seriously want it, you don't want any other substitute or nonsense. You want only that. You don't want to fly in the air or walk on water or produce rings or ashes. You want to find the truth. In that case, somebody will surely come to you. Really, I'm telling you. This is my experience. I used to cry many nights. What is this? And then somebody came to me, and that somebody was a good body. Not just some body, special body. So I think it applies to everyone. I am sure at least there will be few people who really, really seriously desire to find it. I can't say that only one person is there. So in your day and night, if you think, I want help, somebody will come. You may not recognize that person also because he may not fit into your parameters. Quite possible. And it need not even necessarily be that he is coming and staying with you and guiding you. It may be a touch, it may be a look, it may be one word. And then from then on, whatever upagurus are required will come, will fall in place. This is my experience. So don't worry too much. Just strengthen your resolve to find the truth. If you want to use the word God, okay. Strengthen your resolve to find God, and they will help you out in some way.